أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh everyone brothers and sisters. Welcome back to our channel. Today is Saturday 1st of August 2026 and we are here together with Dr. Muhammad al-Mas'ari talking about accounting the rulers, accounting the hukam and the nullifiers of their governance and their rule. What constitutes it? What are the evidences used from the Quran and the Sunnah? What are the evidences used by our opponents, the Madakhila, who we call now the Madakhila, named after the coward government scholar Rabi' al-Madkhali, and the government scholars of the past as well. I always emphasize on this. Do you not think that this is a modern phenomenon? This has been since the beginning of time, where arrogant men, tyrannical men, who deify their own egos and desires in order to be the lords besides Allah the Creator, because they want to be obeyed unconditionally in disobedience to Allah the Almighty. And in order for them to do that, at times or oftentimes, they use religion and they misinterpret what Allah has revealed to them, like the Quran and the Sunnah and the previous scriptures, as Allah teaches us about the monks and the rabbis who used to distort and misinterpret and even not implement what Allah's ruled and legislated. But what we call for at Hizb al-Tajdeed is going back to the Quran and Sunnah directly, without taqleed. Let's look at the best evidence and we emphasize that legislation, judgment, governance, sovereignty is only for the one who's deserving of it, the King, Allah. And authority is not for your scholars, it's not for our scholars, it's not for the Church of Najd or any other churches within Islam, which is invalid. Rather, authority is for the Muslim Ummah collectively, both men and women. Okay? Now, inshallah, we're going to be dealing with the arguments of the government scholars, like the Madakhila, and we will bring our proofs regarding the subject of Hakimiyya and governance, inshallah. Ustad, do you want to say anything before I continue with the evidence?
Yes, it goes, as you said, historical, much further back. The Madkhali of all time, the chief Madkhali was regarded as a scholar and of great respect. And the founder of Madhab is Ahmed bin Hanbal, as we see from his statements, as narrated with his own son and other his students, when they have volumes called Sunnah, etc., which reports many of his statements. Some of them are blatantly shocking, but that's not our issue. Ahmed bin Hanbal issue is the Tawhid itself. But actually, he's maybe dumbing down or improving on the theory which the Bani Umayyah, especially in the time of Marwan, Bani Marwan, because Muawiya did not have the courage, who is also worse than them, but did not have the courage to pronounce that clearly. The time is too close, time of the Prophet and the Sahaba are plenty in his time. He can't do that. But Bani Marwan, the Marwani, the Malik of Marwan, before him Marwan ibn Hakam, etc., they tried to get a theory called, which resulted in so-called Shami, the Levant style obedience, which essentially says you have to obey the ruler of the Khalifa in anything. Even if you commit Masiyah, you have to obey. And they even fabricated the Hadith. If you hear the Hadith, you'll just start sweating. You cannot believe that anybody can fabricate something like that. Anyway, that's the Shami, which is complete, is actually a type of kufr, definitely. But that has been forsaken, like after the Abbasi have come and slowly run down without really any one scholar at the time say specifically this would be anyone adopting a Shami would be exiting Islam, becoming a kafir. Because nobody sat on the issue and put everything together in one place. It's scattered here, scattered. For example, Awza'i was regarded by Ahl Sunnah as a great Imam and so on. There's qualification for this, but he is not extremely bad. He says, one of the madhahib al-Shami, the madhabs, schools of thought of the people of the Levant, Sham is the Levant. People know that from ISIS, Islamic State of Iraq and Sham.
Right.
So is from Sham, and this is Levant. He said one of the madhahib which have to be forsaken is At-Ta'a Shamiya, the Shami style obedient. That's all what he said. I think this is an enormous shortcoming. If you say it has to be forsaken, you should say why it should be forsaken. Is it a possible ijtihad? It's wrong only. It is how to classify it from a Sharia point of view. You should say clearly, because it's the Shia is a system of kufr. Is a belief.
Yes.
You believe that's true, that you have to obey the ruler even if it commands a Masiyah, then you essentially undermine the existing necessity of the impossibility of something like that, and also that was narrated by Tawattur from the Masiyah of Allah. Whoever commands with Masiyah, do not obey him. With the various interpretation, but there's a minimal interpretation. Don't obey him in this command. Otherwise, he doesn't comment on that. We'll see actually he loses the right to be imam. That's wilayat al-fasiq and so on. But we take the minimal. For Kufr and Islam, we take the absolute minimum, the bare bone. If you go there, you break the bone. Islam is dead. So he did not say that, and this obviously did not get a history in the proper direction quicker and stronger. People need almost 1300, 1400 centuries to wait until we articulate that sharply and clearly. Istafa Shamiya, as a madhab, as a point of view, is a point of view of kufr. Cannot be secularized to Islam by any way. So these are small comments on that what you said, but I think everyone agrees from Islam by necessity, from reading the Quran, so the book of Tawheed, the complete book called Sovereignty of the Law, Siyad al-Shara', is that the ultimate sovereignty is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You could call that Siyad al-Shara', you could call it Hakimiyya, because Shara' meaning that what comes from Allah in as commands, prohibition, etc., etc. And this has the absolute sovereignty. And acknowledging that is the creedal side of Ibadah, of worship. Not worship is a bad translation. It should be really translated enslaving oneself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If he's ultimate sovereign, then you are ultimate slave and servant. People love that term servant more than abd, but actually abd is more deeper in the meaning we need. There's no shame to use that with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No doubt about that. It's desirable not to use it for humans or anything else except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but escaping to, for example, you find many translations for saying about Muhammad as being Abdullah wa Rasulullah, the slave of Allah and his messenger. Also, all statement about Isa ibn Maryam, Abdullah wa Rasulullah, doesn't taste for me. I say servant. It doesn't make things better. You get actually worse. So, undermine and the people prefer to translate Ibadah and Ubudiyya by worship and worshipping. It's not a good translation, because worship meaning honoring, respecting. That can't be valid for anybody else. But the ultimate respect for someone by necessity of his being is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And from that, immediately it comes that it's impossible for Allah, if he's a perfect being, to command you to obey someone ordering you ma'asiyah, because essentially he's saying, obey me by disobeying me. And this comes only from someone in the mental institution. Cannot be coming from a normal human being, let alone from someone higher and the ultimate, infinite limit of wisdom and knowledge. That can't be. So there's an impossibility. But reason, that's it's very important to have that with iron fist. It's not just that we invoke the hadith of Sayyidina Allah alayhi sallam, which is by Tawattur, multiple channels to narration, when he said, whoever commands you with ma'siyah, whoever commands you to do and disobedient to Allah, disobedient to Allah, I will classify what disobedient would mean, then don't obey him. Most people will translate that the minimal sense to escape the problem. The minimal thing is the sense, but we will show that it's really in everything. But the minimal thing is the following: don't obey him in this specific ma'siyah only. Other things are not addressed. I will say later we will show, inshallah, that don't obey him in this one, and the one that's uttered publicly as a public law or something like that. And I will define what ma'asiyah is as a public law, etc. Then, in addition, that cannot be, must be disobeyed in this one. Otherwise, we attribute to Allah Subhanahu nonsensical conflict in his being, which is impossible. It removes his legitimacy. He should not be obeyed from it. The moment he gives a command to commit a ma'asiyah to anybody, then this commander is not only for the rule, man amarakum, man general, anybody, which can be addressed with man, who, not what. What is for conscious being and non-conscious. Non-conscious being, we don't need to worry. A tree will never command you anything. So we're not talking about this. An animal never command you anything. It's not sufficiently conscious to be in any position of giving commands and so on like that. An animal, a wild animal seen in the forest or in the savannah may attack you and eat you. There's no command. It's just instinct working. Nature is working. That's all. And no way to imagine that a lion will tell you, wait until I eat you. This is not possible. That's never it. So in man mean who? We apply to humans and also other beings who are conscious, maybe jinn, but humans, not only ruler, maybe your parents, huh? Yeah,
Yep.
even your parents. We think
and the Quran mentions this. It could be shirk to or kufr to obey.
That will come now. So based on that, we say whoever command ma'asiyah according to the formulation of the hadith. The Quran does not formulate that because it's directly clear by necessity or reason from a statement that Allah is the absolute sovereign. And nobody can even question his commands. Nobody can come forward or backward after his command. So anyone giving a command of ma'asiyah, but obviously publicly, because in private, maybe two drunkard, I've even given the other one, they like, take it, it's delicious and so on. That's not a command in public command in genuine sense. It has to be a public, in case of rulers. Of course, other things we have to analyze what's it. But against the rule, it has to be public because in virtue of his being in command and having the power to enforce it by the sword, by his soldiers and so on, that is a public command. So anyone commanding something like that loses the ability to be in command until he clearly repents and forsake. And it's a very complicated procedure. We got come to that later. But the moment he's fasiq, he's rebellious against Allah and his messenger, giving the public command. From that moment, he's fasiq. Fasiq could include also kafir, from the Quran. Yes. Many people make the mistake, say there's a difference between, there's a difference between asi, yes. But asi is a category, fasiq, kafir, another category. Fasiq will be someone who's rebellious, but who is disobedient to Allah, but not manifestly and not rebellious way. That one do it rebellious way could be kafir, could be just kabira, major sin. But generally, fasiq applies generally in Quran to kufr, by the way. Check the Quran, go through it. Nobody did that thoroughly.
I remember you were the first one to mention that to me because, generally speaking, the Mu'tazila, they make fasiq as a different category.
Because they don't scan the Quran. Simple. Go and scan the Quran. Tell me where. The only place where maybe it's applied to ma'asiyah is, it doesn't say who does that is fasiq. فَإِنَّهُ فُسُوقٌ بِكُمْ. You have some fusuq. You have an aspect of fusuq. It's the only place. Check and come to me. I will tell you. It's as I said. It's you. The most clearly example usually is the story of Adam and Iblis.
Yeah. But they do the opposite. They say, they say fisq leads to kufr. Anyway, I think this is semantics. I'm not going to.
It's semantic. Fasaqa rebelled against Allah Ta'ala. Kafara rejected Allah Ta'ala or denied him or say he doesn't exist. All from the same level of kufr. That's the question. What is important is there are various types of kufr also. Some by rejection.
Yes.
Some by denying publicly while you internally know it's the truth. Complicated types. So leading or not leading doesn't matter. If I give someone the attribute of fasiq, if I gave the attribute of fasiq or kafir, then immediately, and it's valid on him, obviously he needs the judicial process and so on in the real life, but the Quran talks to usually and the Sunnah, usually about so-called pure type, the genus, the type, the prototype. But then it is clear that it is, but it's not an issue here in way of ruling. What happens to him when he gives a command to lead ordering a ma'asiyah and requests you to obey? The moment he issues a command, he is now fasiq, he is rebellious against Allah ruling, because we suppose him, we are dealing with someone who claims to be a Muslim ruling by Islam. If he is not Muslim, I say, why are you counting me? I did not come to rule by Islam. I came by the sword. I am Jinkir Khan. You shut up. I will cut your head with the sword. There's no discussion about this type of people. But someone who originally appears to be worthy of obedience, appears at least. He may be even from the beginning is not worthy of obedience, but assume he was worthy of obedience before. The moment he gives such a command, he loses the authority to do so. He becomes incapacitated from being in a position of command. He cannot be elected anymore until obviously repentance and things verified, and so that's another issue. We'll discuss that later. These are fine points of rebellion and so on. So that's the theoretical prototype. Now we will just final comment. We don't want to go to this philosophy of kufr and fisq and rebellion and Masiyah. These are very deep issues, and this is actually the first issue people argued in Islam about. First issue.
Very, very deep, because even for example, kufr ustad, I believe in Surah Al-Baqarah, when someone misses the fast, breaks the fast intentionally, when they need to do kafara, Allah gives the list. Then Allah says, and Allah does not like the kafirun, which kind of some people might read into it being an act of kufr, but it's not an act of kufr according to the majority of the scholars. So
don't worry. Maybe the majority is wrong there. No, don't go to such deep examples, because the issue of Kufr and Iman is a wide scale. What is the minimum which keeps you in Islam? Essentially, only Allah knows. And the maximum is clear. No doubt about that. Yeah, you see what I mean? Because Iman is not like some Jahmiyyah's claim. Iman is that recognizing this man is a messenger, for example. Even if you kill him. That's the extreme Murji'ah.
Exactly. I give this example to the Murji'ah as well. I say, okay, if Iman is only qawl.
No.
I believe in Rasulullah by attacking.
It's better not. That's a mistake which happened in history. Going in an ocean and trying to paddle with the paddle boat doesn't work this way. Tell him this is an ocean. Let us stay on the safe side.
Yep.
And see the prototype, the pure type mentioned in the Quran and Sunnah, and then if we need to apply someone, if there's a reason to apply, sometimes there's no reason. It's just human arrogance. You want to feel that you are superior to the other. You are a believer, he is not, or his iman is deficient. You see what I mean? So it's better to avoid that from the beginning. But and if talking about the words معصية حبب إليكم لكن الله زين الإيمان في قلوبكم وحبب زين الإيمان في قلوبكم وحببه إليكم وكره إليكم الكفر والفسوق والعصيان. He mentioned 3 things. From this could make 3 things actually. But this all the someone say kufr is clear. We understand, although most people don't understand what kufr is. Really. Second, fusuq. Maybe kabair.
Yes.
Disobedience. Maybe sagair. Then the interpretation go. The most important is that in the Quran, in the opening of human history, he mentioned about Iblis and about Adam. Iblis, he mentioned many places, Aba wastakbar. Fasaqa an amri rabbih. Fasaqa related to the command.
He parted from the command of Allah.
Rebelled actually. Fasaqa is more breaking out, like explosion, exploded out of, because the fundamental assumption for created being, which is the ultimate slave, toward the ultimate sovereign, the exalted and majestic Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is absolute submission and obedience. Any lifting the gun is rebellion.
Yeah, exploded. I like that expression.
And this is fasaq an amri rabbih. Then comment about Iblis and Adam, and then in other place, Aba wastakbar. And he was arrogant. That's how the rebellion came from arrogance. I am better than that.
Actually, that was the kufr in of itself, because
and that's the reason. There's various types of kufr. Some of it rebellion, some of it. So you cannot say fisq. All of it is not does not lead to a type of kufr, or can be worked as a type of kufr. It's only classification according to acts and so on.
He argued with Allah. He argued. He said, "No, I am better." That is going against the hakimiyya of Allah, the sovereignty of Allah.
That's definitely, we discussed that. This is a footnote. The issue is the word fasaqa. And then about Iblis, he commented, fasaqa an amri rabbih. Kafara. Never where he said, although he was disobedient also. For Adam, what does it say? وَعَصَى آدَمُ رَبَّهُ فَغَوَى. عَصَى. Find anywhere in the Quran anything mentioning to Adam attributing to him kufr or fisq? No. Check the Quran. Don't trust me. Go to the Quran is here now. Well protected, letter by letter, all the way down to our time.
He disobeyed.
Okay, he disobeyed only. The other one, Iblis فسق عن أمر, rebelled, أبى واستكبر. Okay, I don't want to go these more philosophical type and so on.
No, it's good to go to these because it's related, but maybe in another segment we'll do this because
the word, I think the word فسق has been abused.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has been
a lot of people, one, Ustad, they are curious about these nuances, those who are more intellectual. Number two, sometimes due to given certain ahkam, it's important to know what constitutes what to differentiate the levels.
Trust me, in most things you don't need to worry about that. See what's technically happened. The hadith says, "Man amarakum bi'asiyah," man amarakum, generally, as we said, father, mother, your respected professor, إذا أمرك بمعصية فلا تطعه. My interpretation in this command, I say no, it's not in this command. After he gives this command, he loses the capability to be worthy of obedience.
Exactly.
If he's an official position, for example, I'll give you an example. You have a professor. He's excellent. So on. He's in the university, so he's qualified to teach. No doubt about that. But when you're doing your PhD, some results of the lab are not very comfortable with his theory or with the current theory point of view. He doesn't want to be in conflict with the community, doesn't have the courage, and he tell you, don't put that in the thesis. Just take the results which confirm. These regard them as don't tell anyone, just put them on. So he's commanding ma'asiyah, hiding information which may undermine the main issue. That's definitely a masiyah. Don't take it lightly. It's definitely a masiyah.
Yeah.
The moment he gives you a command like that, he loses the respect as a professor for you. You cannot remove him from job university. You may continue working under him out of necessity because you have to get your degree and your livelihood. But if you have the capability to live outside that, terminate the PhD or report him, you should do it. He loses the respectability as a professor. He should also lose the job, but who does that? Human weaknesses will wreak havoc there. So I'm giving you an example in the academic world. You don't think it's related to Masiyah. It's related. It's under the hadith. You should not obey. No, Professor, I cannot do that. I give the whole say. You're between you. Listen, I cannot. It's not possible.
Exactly.
Unless the condition which forces you beyond your power, and then you have to ask and answer Allah yawm al-qiyamah, why did you do that? You see? So, it's very serious, these things. It's not as simple as people think that. Concerning, that's one. So the issue that's really not only this command and every command who is giving because of his authority, of his type of authority. And that's usually most important for rulers or commanders or battlefield commander. You are the original hadith came because in a Ibn Hudaf al-Sami was sent in a battle campaign and so on. And when they were back, he was some kind of a German called Passcode, a man who makes jokes and so on. He's a man of some kind of dark humor. So they started and so on, say, didn't he say order you to obey me? He said yes. He said, if I command you to jump in the fire, will you do it? And some wanted to do, and the other held them back. Said, no, we follow the command of Allah. We follow them say Allah to escape from the fire, not to jump in it. So we are arguing or reasonable rational ground. And then he said, extinguish it. I'm just joking with you. You may say this is a very bad joke, whatever it is. I think
but then Rasulullah says, but then Rasulullah takes it seriously, right? He says, if you jumped into the fire, you would have left it.
You've never gone out of it. Yeah. So don't. Man amarakum bi'asiyah fala tuti'uh. Man amarakum bi'asiyah. This phrase is narrated by Tawattur. Abdullah ibn Umar was present. This was various Sahaba. And there's no reason to believe that anyone cooperated with him. Let us invent a story against this man. There's no reason at all. So it is mutually corroborating reports, and each one is having excellent isnad. Excellent isnad indicates usually that it's ending with the truth, but on the balance of evidences, almost certain, but not certain. There's still a gap. Even good isnad, that's another problem which did not many scholars in time past. They find the hadith of good isnad متصل, no doubt about that, with the best scholars you can imagine, etc., etc. And I think the termination must be the truth. No, it's not necessary. Yeah, it's very rare,
Because
but it can happen. Yeah.
Ustad, at the end of the day, people need to realize one thing. This is what we're emphasizing on. The primary source, the primary reference point is the Quran, because there is no doubt that the Quran is the Quran, and it's not
It's in our hand, and it's a very long process. We will, it's done through history, but we'll do it by modern grounds and also carbon dating and so on in a book, separately book. It's already done. It's already done, but in the plan past. But we'll complete it for this time, invoking carbon dating and parchments and everything. Don't worry about that. Assume.
What I want to say is, Ustad, is this.
People I'm going to another point. No, don't be in a hurry. Step by step, otherwise the people will not benefit from what we are discussing.
Take your time,
we are diverting from our issue, but it's important. So the text of the Quran, as we have, even I specify which reading is the most preferable in that research. Don't worry. But you can take any reading, generally. They differ. All the reading differ, but in 40 position, and most of them are issue of, like تعلمون, يعلمون, things like that. It's completely irrelevant. Then you think it's addressed to the addressee or to the public. Minimal. Yeah, minimal. So that's so the text in our hand, with the preferred reading, how the way I have established that, inshallah, is in our hand.
Yeah.
So
what I meant is this, Ustad. People need to get out of the mindset of
no, the evidence. Don't be in a hurry, but relax a little bit. I know you address the Muslim public, but address the humanity. So what's that? The moment you establish a step that it is not only that text there, and notice the established coming from Muhammad, but outside Muhammad from Allah, then it's still outside, as if you're talking to Allah. But the problem with Sunnah is different.
Yeah,
Sunnah is totality, or it's in itself, as if you are present in front of Allah and seeing Him and hearing Him. That's the Sunnah in itself. That's an authority like the Quran, except in a few issues of Nasakh. That's the Sunnah. So going back to Quran, going to that. But how to reach there? Because neither me nor you are sitting with the Messenger of Allah now. We mentioned the Hadith, من أمركم بمعصية فلا تطيعوا. جميل?
No.
What I said it came from various channels, various Sahaba. That's it's not each one produce knowledge beyond reasonable doubt, but not beyond any possible doubt.
No.
Not with certitude. Channel واحدة cannot produce ever. But then with certitude, it produces beyond zero. Then each channel check to the other channels, so there's no way of cooperation and multiple. They didn't go in a mountain and hid and said we should issue so many lines of a report. That's impossible. So what does this mean? That's called multiple corroborating evidences. Then we can say, yeah, really, we say, man amarakum ba'asiyah fatuti'u, as we are sitting with the Messenger of Allah directly. That's the Sunnah in itself, not as it stands in the books. I know that's a bit deep, but we have to get that. We have to get there to clean the mess in Islamic history. And neither of these two things have been taken really seriously. Neither of them been taken seriously. Theoretically, they may articulate that. Yes, they may articulate it in theory. Mu'tazila articulate the issue of Sunnah and so on. They take only mutawatir as evidence for, at least for Aqidah, what they call Aqidah and so on. That's a good step. But they do not argue it cleanly as it should be.
Yeah.
Al-Hadith are completely lenient in there, and that's the reason you find they do tasheeh Hadith. If you just look at them, and sometimes say, you just put your note. It sticks.
Yep.
Because the isnad is excellent. At face
value, yeah.
But if you find for other evidences that may be fabricated or something like that, and put them together, say, there's a point there we have missed. Maybe who said haddathana in one place, maybe a later narrator made a mistake there. We have to double check. Give you an example quick, so we continue with the original problem. The hadith in Ibn هذا سيد وصلح الله بين فرقتين عظيمتين مسلمين. My son, meaning Al-Hasan ibn Ali, is a master, or is a lord, not lord, master actually, Sayyid. Because in Arabic we have difference between lord and master and lord, كذلك in English, but we don't have, make that notice for Christian, we don't have that in Greek. So if the ancient writing usually in Greek, that's the only documents we have remaining for the earliest document of Christianity, they talk about the Lord, maybe they're meaning a master. Maybe it's not the Lord, not the higher one. It's just a master, the top of certain people, the leader. So that's a point where Greek does not have a difference between these two things. It's only just master who is Lord at the same time. Pagan, they don't have any tradition that there's the difference between the two. Mishmash. Mishmash. Okay, so back to our issue. So I would say that other interpretation is that now how we that a wide interpretation. That's not who will command you with Masiyah, disobey him. Yeah, for a specific command, yes, no doubt about that. But that it is for the person, that his right to being obedient, or his the divine permission for him to be obedient is established by various evidences. From them, some are Quranic, so it's established with certitude. But you cannot just rely on this hadith. You have to go to many other hadith. Many other ayahs and hadith. The best evidence are from the Quran, which say لا تطع منهم آثما أو كفورا.
7634, I believe, yeah.
Another ولا تطع المكذبين لودوا لو تدعون فيزهنون. مكذبين هذول تستركوا, etc. So if you put of that with لا تطع, don't follow them, don't be soft with them, don't incline to them, gives the necessity that this type of people are not worthy of obedience. In the case of parents, because the parents have a special standing biologically, you grow up in your parents' house. In normal cases, I'm not talking about the destroyed families in the West, unfortunately for them and for us, for all humanity.
Exactly.
Only a single mother struggling with one child, with no father image there, because men have become like bucks and animals going around, just jumping on women, unfortunately. This is widespread now. We cannot deny it. But usually the two parents are there, and you grow under their supervision. You feel that they're interested in your welfare, and you are right to feel that. This is dictated by instinct. They're struggling for you, generally, and so on. So you come to the conclusion, they are my reference. I am not at a level of understanding that until like 10 years or so on, that there's a God which really created them and so on. They are almost like semi-gods in my mind. They are also my existence, my life. So you tend naturally to be obedient. Yes. Accepting that any command I give is good. Prefacia was to start with, but it's natural. If you think otherwise in your upbringing, there's a deep problem there. So for these, usually think, I must obey whatever comes from the parents. And especially when the Islam came, the relation between parents and children was quite, we cannot envisage it now after 1400 centuries of Islam. It was as bad as the one in China until recently, that the father or the mother can sell the child and get money for it. It's actually the child.
They are the owners. They are the muluk. They
have the ownership. And also, especially women, they could not with the permission. You have to pay the father money for her, as if buying a cow. Again, you got married to that girl, I sell her to you for 50 cows. In Africa, buffaloes, until now, with the pagans. So the concept is completely different. So for this society, which is can come, but also to all humanity. But for this, the prime target will address, well, and we have listen, human being. We have given the injunction. It is not just instinct. Instinct took care for that in the time you were pre-human, but now it is an injunction by Allah to do that. And to be charitable, so ihsana, to treat them the best possible way, not obey this way. That's many mistaken Muslims say uquq al-walidain, say uquq is not obeying him. No. Has nothing to do with obedience. It's being charitable to them. Charitable. If it comes to the extreme that you mistreat them or beat them up, then you are aq, which is a very, very severe kabira. Just at shirk or below shirk. So if that's the situation, وصينا فإن جاهداك أن تشرك بشيء, if you try and struggle to get you to become mushrik and associate with me another partner, what you're supposed to do? Break the relation, kill them? No. فلا تطعهما. Don't obey him, obey them, obviously in this command only, and later any other command, but still وصاحبهم في الدنيا what to the company? معروفا, in a reasonable way, not with charity, reasonable way.
أحسنت.
Read the ayah careful and you'll see what's going on there. So we say
Yes.
that what you feel by instinct and by growing up, especially in this society where you brought up to be say the slave of your father. Abdul Muttalib, he wanted to sacrifice Abdullah. Abdullah did not object. It's natural, the order of the universe as he perceived. And the same with Ibrahim and so on. That's all the time. He consulted Ismail, essentially telling him, if you want to run away, run away. Ismail said, no, I will be because I know this the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Ismail is another level of sophistication. Obviously, they claim is Ishaq, but we're not going to go in these petty kind of disputes. Whatever it will to sacrifice. By necessity, it will be Ismail, no doubt about that.
Yeah,
do you know how the Jews and some Christians want to get out of this dilemma? Because the Old Testament says God is in dream. The angels, God is commanded. I don't know the exact wording of the dream. God command you to slaughter your son, your firstborn son, Bakr. But they know that Ismail is the firstborn. So some of them get out there, but he's not the firstborn in a legitimate relation. He's essentially a bastard.
I knew that was coming.
That's when you get stuck with fabrication, and fabrication leads to fabrication, or counter fabrication, and you end in a nightmare like you find in the Old Testament. Anyway, just making side comments just to, if a non-Muslim is in the public, he later hear it, he will cheer up. Take it as a joke, as a small teaser, just to make our atmosphere a little bit more humane, not strict, academic and philosophical. Okay, so in that environment, but it gives you exactly what's the way to go. We have given injunction to humans since time past. The Old Testament is, I think, a second or third or fourth command. It is respect your parents, and that there's a command there. Whoever does not respect or cares his parents, insult them, should be stoned to death. Luckily, this is abrogated. Otherwise, half humans would have been stoned to death. So that's clear. That's my injunction. But ihsan, in a beautiful way of come out, which looks sometimes as if it's obedience, is not. It's a charitable, nice way of following, like a friend, like a brother, because you know what your friends, you adopt them, or even better than your friends. But they may be pagans, and they struggle to force you into disbelief. What to do? Sword and cut their necks? No. Just disobey them. And give them company in life in a reasonable way, معروفا, not with charity, بإحسان, معروفا. Read the ayah again, Bahrat, you will find really treasures there to answer many questions. So even the parents who, it appears from culture, from tradition, from previous history, from comments of old scholars, that these comments are in the Talmud and all, they don't need to wait for Islamic scholar to comment on that, make similar mistakes, people may understand that obedience. And even many abusive women. I know one of them. I'm not say what's my relation to her. Think her children, if you don't do that, I will be angry until Yawm Qiyam, and you go to Jahannam.
This is the norm. This is not one, not two, not three. So many are like this. Many of them.
Many. I know it's why. I just wish I've seen it by myself and heard it by my own ear. That's the reason I'm saying it.
Many of them are
a woman who share, but I know almost 90%, especially if you're in India and Pakistan, where the parents think they have super authority over, especially if it relates to his wife, because she supports the servant of the house. Yeah.
You've heard what Rash narrated, right? Where his friend said to him,
who is the slave of the house? Not the wife of the son, respected wife of the son. So this is widespread in them. If you tell you, chuck that woman out, you chuck it out. Anyway, we're not going to criticize certain nations, but this is also through pagan structure and tradition, hundreds and thousands of years. So from that, we know that nobody, anybody commanding Masiyah does not deserve obedience. He may deserve, if he is a parent, for example, good companionship. You don't need to kill him, but you don't need that, because with parents, you can just leave the house. That's not a treatment you need really to escape a parental power. There's many other treatments. But what the case of the ruler who has an army and police holding the sword in their hand. That's the question. And for
Regarding the
you,
ruler,
now,
I want to say, yeah.
in addition to the general eyes of the Quran, general meaning of the Quran, which indicates that strongly and almost with certitude, we have clear hadith. We have the hadith of Ibn Masud, which is one of the most significant, with good isnad, the level of Muslim. What he says, Imam Shah say, after me will be rulers who will do what they are commanded to do, and they distribute money. The hadith is there, the detailed hadith, who will behave properly. Then, unfortunately, after them, human nature, people cannot stay in such a rank, they decline, and maybe they go up, and maybe they never go up and get extinct. But that's how أمراء وش يقولون ما لا يعلمون ويفعلون ما لا يؤمرون. They say what they don't know, so they blubber from their own mind and say what have related obviously to ruling and related to issues related to governance. Yeah, which leads to action, running the state. If a ruler, for example, say my point of view is that the angels are just natural forces. Okay. Any command, anything like that? No relation. Just point to, I think this philosophical. Okay, fine. And I'm another philosopher kind of that point of view. But if he says you have to believe that, then the sword must be lifted out against his face, because he has no authority to command that in the first place. This regarding if that's correct or not correct. That's number one. Number two, what Hadith says, وَيَفْعَلُونَ مَا لَا يُؤْمَرُونَ. They do things which have been commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the ultimate commander and legislator. And this mention many negative things. So Mas'ud was at such a shock, he never imagined that will happen. Now we are in a situation which everything is easier. So Mas'ud, what he was supposed to do with this horrible situation. He could not imagine his mind that will be. Mas'ud said, تسألني يا ابن أم عبد ماذا تفعل? You ask me, the son of Umm Abd. That's the standard title of the son of Umm Abd. He's called Abd. And his mother is Abd. So you ask me, the son of Abd, what you do? Meaning, I'm shocked with question. Should be obvious.
There's no obedience to one who disobeys Allah.
No obedience to one who disobeys Allah. No obedience. Not disobey command. No obedience. Is out of.
Because the Madkhal is arguing that no, there's no obedience in that particular matter, that mas'ala.
Which particular matter there? Which matter in the hadith?
They're lying. No, they're lying. They're openly lying, yes.
No. Because they don't give you the full hadith. If the Houthi come, if Madkhali come and tell you this is only for that matter, say, he's not talking about any matter, talking about general behavior or type of rulers.
The Arabic is here, لا طاعة لمن عصى الله.
لمن عصى الله. انتهى.
To the one who.
As not only from Mas'ud, there's another hadith of the same wording. One even stronger. That's from Ubadah ibn Samit, after he has a conflict with Muawiya in the time of Uthman. Yes. So because he has no authority over Muawiya, because in time of Umar he has another conflict, and Umar disciplined him harshly. Sent him a letter saying Ubadah ibn Samit is an independent person, he doesn't belong under the authority in Sham. And the issue they disputed about, he said he's right, that should be implemented in Sham. The issue about usury and things like that. We're not going into details. In time of Uthman, he took while he was in Sham, making a life of Muawiya miserable. And
Muawiya, I've got the hadith in front of me as well, yeah. I've got the hadith in front of me.
About the khamr and so on. Don't worry about that. The fine details.
Sahih Muslim, Muwatta, Malik.
Then when Uthman came, when Muawiya saw that he's weak and he grabbed more, because at that time, actually, when they say Muawiya was on Sham, it was only in Damascus. Right? And then the governor of Hims and the other son were not. So most of Sham is not under his authority. So bit by bit, Uthman did not dare removing the other ones. Maybe he never had the inclination. But some resigned and some died. So they need replacement. And then Bani Umayyah in his back, pushing in his back, using his weaknesses. He's a gentleman, he's a nice man, but weak. And just put Muawiya there. He's working well in Damascus. No doubt Muawiya is an excellent administrator. No doubt about that. Extend. So extended until Muawiya was controlling Sham and was making backdoor agreements with the Romans and the Christian. We have evidence of that from the Greek documentation and Roman tragic, by the way, and recently unearthed, exposing things. Yeah, it will come soon, inshallah. It will let your hair raise up. when he felt strong enough, he benefited from a certain conflict with Ubadah Samit, and he wrote to Uthman. Ubadah has messed up the whole Sham for me. So make your choice. Either you allow me to send Ubadah Samit to you, or remove me from the court. Show how tricky he is, or relieve me for the job of governorship of Sham. So Uthman is too weak, and Muawiya is doing a nice job in administration. He has less headache from Sham. So what he will balance? He said, send Ubadah to me. So the letter say Ubadah was there, and then he was in a gathering of Uthman, arrived. Nobody knows about his arrival. Arrived there, and then Ubadah stood up and told him, Uthman, you remember, I think I told him this well, you remember, because he was present in the statement. I think he said, you remember when the Messiah said, there will be a ruler or governor over you who should do this and this and this. They should not be leader. They should not be imam. Ma ulaika alaykum. Wallahi, you know that, I know, and you know that Muawiya is one of them. That's one of the hadith which are very condemning to Muawiya. But anyway, don't worry about Muawiya. He's in his grave, already dug out anyway. But what we got about is the wording. The wording is clear. And the dispute between Muawiya and before that is one single issue, which may be some aspect of issue of discussion. But with this episode, 2 episodes, it became almost uniform and agreed upon by Tawattur and by multiple corroborating narration, issues about Wizari and other issues. Anyway, and we have another hadith also, I think also Ibn Umayra, I think, and so on. So we have, and all the different circumstances, and none of them can be attacked. So give us certitude that man amarakum ma'asiyah fala tuti'u, meaning remove him from command. He's not worth it. Obviously, this specific command cannot be obeyed. That's clear. That's no discussion. That's the minimum. Otherwise, we'll go in the get out of Islam into kufr, clear kufr. That Allah is commanding people to disobey Him. Obey me by disobeying me. It's contradiction. That's it done. But extended to the personality, the person who was before that in charge, for good or bad, he reached a place, people assume he is legitimate ruler. The moment he gives something like that in, and then a famous hadith about the Kufr Buwah. That's confirmed the matter completely. No doubt about that. In which you get the definition, what's the meaning of Kufr Buwah? It is commanding Masiyah publicly. Because this is the other version of the hadith, by the way. Because the people using only a Kufr Buwah, like most donkeys, I mean the Madkhali, they didn't study the various channels of the hadith and how Ubadah Samit narrated it. Only this one, I don't know why Bukhari chose this one, honestly. There's something fishy there in my back of it. I don't want to accuse Bukhari, but the other channel.
I think the one of Bukhari is better according to my estimation, because the one of the Masiyah,
no.
You can read it as obey him in good, in ease, and hardship and difficulty, and don't obey him if he commands Masiyah. As in, the Madkhali can make it look like don't obey him in that particular matter of Ma'asi.
Yeah, but the Bukhari doesn't say that.
Bukhari one tells you to rise against him with the safe, with the sword.
Yeah, no, but the Bukhari one, leave the sword now. That's with the Bukhari one, the other one had footnotes and so on. Where's the range with the sword? That's not the issue. Bukhari one using إلا أن ترى الكفر بواحا. بواحا is also in the other channels. إلا أن كفر بواحا. Then people say we have to get something like kufr, but the other one is معصية. Justify what's kufr بواح? يأمرك بمعصية. That's the kufr.
Yeah.
It's much better. But we discussed that in another context, inshallah, not here. So that's all supposed to be just small comments on your introduction. Let's stop here and continue with your discourse.
Yeah, no.
Maybe we preempted many of points there down the road. Let's go ahead.
Exactly. That's why I didn't want to interrupt as well, because you've been talking about the same topic that we're going to talk about now. You're mentioning the same verses.
I would say it is fundamental. Should be part of Aqidah Islamiyah is that Allah is the ultimate sovereign. There's no question that the action from the created being, the ultimate slave, is necessarily, which is called also Ibadah, is unconditional obedience. Because you cannot put any condition for Allah. It's absolute. Otherwise, he's not absolute. So it's not Allah. Something else. We stop there. So that's it. If we establish that he is still existing, eternal, acting by absolute sovereignty, he can legislate whatever he wants, and he create what he wants. He's the ultimate legislator and commander. Then, necessarily, he deserves absolute obedience. That's the other point of the same statement. And then, the created being who is worthy of address, who can understand and can be addressed, not a tree or a mountain. This one, his reaction must be worshiping Allah. The act of worship is then enslaving himself to Allah based on this creed. It's not enslaving based on just a confused mind. No. Based on that. If it's not based on the creed, then ma'asalam, you are not muwahid. You are worshiping chaos, the chaos, like some philosophers said at the beginning of the universe, there was chaos. Maybe that's chaos, but it's not the divine being we believe in. So that's it. Now, we have evidences in the revelation that there's a command to obey certain people, or mention some people, are they in charge? That's now come to the ayah of ta'ah, of the wulat. When Allah says, "Ati'u Allah wa ati'u." We discussed that in the book of Tawheed. "Ati'u Allah" is not really a command, because it's not command to be obeying the command, but it's actually, I remind you that you acknowledge that I am the ultimate sovereign and that your ultimate slave, and the reaction is by necessity, absolute obedience. Just reminding. Besides, plus that reminder, I will be asking about behavior Yawm al-Qiyamah. That's the meaning of Ati'u Allah. It's Shari now. It's not just necessity of reason. It's not a rational philosophical conclusion. What it is definitely. And that's the reason atheists try to run away, because they don't want to have Sharia. They want to be free, doing whatever. They want to be sovereign. That's it. And Allah is a disturbing idea for them. Get rid of this being there, which make my life restricted. I want to be going around, as they are saying, hell shari, with loose hair, like the devil. That's exactly what the devil wants. Come, you'll be free. I rebelled against the cosmic tyrant. You know what the Satanists say. Right? So that's it. Then you are out of Satanism and in monotheism and rationality, because Satanism is irrationality. That's rationality. That's rational. So Ati'u Allah is this one. That's Ati'u Rasul. By necessity of reason, we know that Rasul is another entity than Allah. His being is different than Allah. So what is the reason for the command to obey him? Absolutely. Another place where I say, even say, "Man ata'a Rasul faqad ata'a Allah." And for some place say, "Ati'u Rasul." Didn't mention even Allah. Because whatever the Rasul command is the command of Allah. How do we know that? By Allah guaranteeing his infallibility, according to the Quran. So that's then وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ without the word أطيعوا. Notice that. Ancient notice that already. That's really not a great invention of our time, or Sayyid Qutb or anybody like that. أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. So أولي الأمر is after Allah and His Messiah without the word أطيعوا separately. أطيعوا الله, أطيعوا الرسول. This is independent obedience to Allah by necessity of reason, the messenger, but he is not Allah. But Ati'u guarantees you that his command is the command of Allah. Don't worry about that. I take care of the infallibility. Tamam? And then وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ as a footnote. Without the word Ati'u, but obviously implied in the text. Implied in the text. And the exception for continue, that this is not fundamental, not final, not it's disputable. فإن تنازعتم في شيء, if you dispute about anything, dispute with whom as well? With one another, including with the rulers, the one from you, because they're supposed to be from you. وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. That let's see, whatever the meaning of minkum in detail is, the believer, including the munafiqeen, because we don't know them. But also, could it be maybe the people carrying the citizenship? That's a deep fiqh issue, can be discussed, because they regard also as Ahl Islam. They are a nation with a believer. Don't worry about these fine points, but those in charge from you. The one you find, you are born, you find someone who's ruling maybe for, maybe are born, that's the year 60 and come out of age, the year 70, 80, and you are English, you see the one in charge, or at least regarded the sovereign or the father of country, Queen Elizabeth. So it's natural. That's the one in charge now. Assume the most innocent assumption. So maybe I'm obliged to obey her. Obviously, there will be a reason not to obey her because of if you realize her past and her system, that's another issue. But assume it was here, Islam established and so on. And then you open your eyes, become a responsible person, and then your acts are recorded, your thoughts are counted, and so on. Yawm al-Qiyamah. I say, who is in charge? There must be someone in charge. Before I came conscious, completely conscious, where to address. So you find out Wali Amr there, by right or wrong. Then prima facie say, that's Wali Amr from us, from our country, from our tribe, and so on. Let me keep things as they, not rock the boat. Okay, but there will be possibility of dispute because it's not infallible. Maybe he's originally even not legitimate, and you start disputing. So that's, but disputing with each other in any respect of disputation with anyone and one with the go and the minimum. But we focus here on Ulil Amr, not in dispute with other scholars. Oh, it's included inside, by the way. But that's the focus now. We'll talk about obedience to the rulers and sovereignty and things like that. Rulers.
Yes.
Society, not single issues. I may have dispute with who was famous scholar at the time, Bin Bayyah, for example, or the famous Shia scholar, what's his name? The one in house arrest.
Kamal Haidari.
He was a great man, but I disagree with his point. So same Sheikh, you are an excellent scholar, not this, I think that, but this issue, you are not infallible. Can you evidence of infallibility? Can Revival Hadith say, no, I'm just an ijtihad. Ijtihad is wrong. How will you know it's wrong? We go to necessity of reason or Quran or Sunnah. Allah and His Messenger. Going to necessity of reason is actually going to Allah. So the necessity of reason is Allah Himself. His absolute truth in Himself. So going back to Allah and His Messenger. Then if you go there correctly, then we'll agree. I admit, you are right. I didn't see it with this angle properly. Or he say, you are right. If he's really honest scholar. So that's the way it goes. In the case of rulers, we have a certain peculiarity. The rulers, usually, he's already in charge, right or wrong. And I see a point of dispute when I become conscious. And I start disputing. There's a danger here because he has the power and he's in charge. Maybe he's entrenched for 20 years before conscious. So then the issue is how to deal with this issue, how to refer to Allah and share. The form of the ayah is either referring to the impossibility, that cannot be. Allah doesn't command something which is impossible and undoable. So it must be referring to, and Allah have everything in the Quran. We go to the Quran, but the Quran has some mushtabihat and some word issues, like we discussed, fasiq and so on. And also, issues with matter of ijtihad, and not every petty issue is settled. That's what proves divine origin, because every petty issue in Tawhid Qiyam never terminates petty issue. No, there's categories of issues. How to summarize this dispute under a category? That's all matter of ijtihad. So the same with the Messenger of Allah. There's the problem. We are not with him now. Maybe at the time, Medina, people could go there. Oh, stop! Muhammad is there. Go check with him, but he's gone. So refer to his sunnah, but the sunnah which is binding, because you ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul, that sunnah is only narrated to us, and most of it is not written immediately. A good portion of it is not written immediately in his time, and even the writing are not public. Thousands of copies in everywhere. Nobody can fabricate. It's just one or two scholars inheriting copies. So it's like oral, slightly better because writing is obviously more firm and better. But writing also can be having errors and mispronunciation, especially in Arabic with the dotting and the tashkil. So we have to do the process of checking that. Who will check it? Someone qualified. The one who has both qualifications this way is called a judge or a mufti. Now, in this case, it's not someone who has come to his opinion and he offers the opinion which is not binding. That will not settle the dispute. That will be mufti. No, it's no good. It must be a judge. So we have to appoint a judge, or there's already a constitutional court there which arbitrate the issue. Yeah?
Yes.
It settles the issue. Someone say, but the constitutional court may be wrong. Yeah, but this is the best what we can do as humans. Absolute certainty يوم القيامة.
Of course.
We could attack the rule that if we bring an evidence against one of the judges and so on, that he's bribed and is dishonest, or bring some evidence that someone did commit a perjury. That's what they call, then you apply to the same court or another court, or set aside that ruling, because cancel it as if never have been issued, because there's a definite perjury, and this can be proven by human means with certitude. And the judge who committed that and so on should be either chucked of the court or put aside for this case. May he look to other cases, depending upon the constitutional system. The correct way would be chuck him out. Yeah. Because any bias in a judge, if you refer to a judge, if he has any bias, he's conscious about, he should disclose it to the parties. If he doesn't disclose, he's cheating. He's worthy of kicking out of the court. Sometimes he is not aware about it, and he does not disclose it, and then later it appears. It slipped his mind. It didn't come in his mind that he may be biased because of that. Then he may stay, but he is removed from this case. But as they apply very well, every law system has such precautions. If it's a clean law system, for example, even the British common law system have these precautions. So matter must be said. Now, if all that's there, still nobody says that is judges, usually not one judge, it will be more like a body of 10 judges, 12 judges, 9 judges in America and so on, who say that are infallible. You may insist in critical issues which may lead to removing of the imam. You may insist on a unanimous of this, but unanimous 12 does not mean this is the absolute truth. So what to do there? You have to accept it. It's final, because we are humans.
No.
There's no way to refer another court or say, but that's one maybe an oral to a third. It never terminates. So referring to the impossible.
Yes.
That's the way to structure it in this way. Then, now we face the situation. Court has given his order and decided against the leader or the one in charge. You were wrong. Take back your order. You should have this chance. Recognize that you are mistaken and that order is null and void, and take it out. And if some of it has been executed, you have to get from the court at least a framework how to compensate the people, etc. There will be some mess has happened, but it has to be compensated for. One way or another. The judge who is qualified to make such a statement will be qualified to tell you, now your illegitimate order has been executed so and so much time, how to fix this situation. Like now, let me give an example which has nothing to do with Sharia, but dictated by necessity of reason. These issues of tariffs of Trump, now they declare to be illegitimate. Now, what to do with the money? I think the court gave just a frame that the money must be returned to the initial payer. But it's a complicated accounting process. Obviously, Trump is not willing to obey, but assuming he is willing to obey, it will take some time to settle. But at least the principle is there, and he steps and does not do more tariffs at the same time. But he's doing the same, so he's rebelling against the constitution. In Islamic system, he should be chucked out. Then he just get aside, resign immediately. He does refuse to resign. The court will say he issue an order of kafiyad. He should be prevented from doing anything or issue anything or doing anything. How to prevent that? Just send him the court, what they call court, the one who will bring the notes from the court, Ashar or something. Bring him the document, from the palace, from government, or from his house, if it's a government house. Here's the car, go to your private home. Obviously, in dunya it will work like that very rarely, very, very rarely, but sometimes it works. We have seen the cases in I think in Mexico. In another South American country, the police going to the president and taking him off to face the court. It will be doable. It's doable for human beings who are a little bit having their brain in their head. Why shouldn't it be that for everyone? But they have to be educated. The whole nation has to be in tune with these ideas. If that's happening, alhamdulillah. Why pulling the swords? It's done. He's putting not the sword because we want to cut his neck or punish him for some. That's punishment Yawm al-Qiyamah. It's none of our business now. Our business is not allowing the disobedience of Allah to be commanded and executed on earth within limitation of power. After
Yes,
that,
oh,
then
so
there's no way to remove him. That most likely he will resist with his police and with his palace guard or royal guard or Republican guard, whatever it is. Then he and his guard become a طائفة ممتنعة, a group resisting against the ruling of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
that's it. In summary, these people who do what they do, in practice, they're not supposed to have the supreme judgment and authority, because that will be hijacking the divine right of sovereignty.
That's to start with. Let's assume you are born under the rulership of a certain king, which is in Islam not legitimate. And you do your research and recognize, like what you have in a book, that the hereditary monarchy is a system of kufr, irrelevant if it is constitutional or non-constitutional. That's not left to the people to, because constitution meaning the people agree in a constitution and so on. This means the people are sovereign. That's not the way it goes in Islam. We have to admit that with all frankness. So you woke up now, you read our book, verified all evidences, and you got stuck. This rule is not legitimate. Depending on the situation, maybe the regime is oppressive and bloody, you shut your mouth, you can't do anymore. Okay, you also have the excuse of not able to even utter the word, but you hate that system in your heart. But let's assume you have the ability to utter the word, and maybe you're a leader of a certain governorship or a certain tribe and so on. You say, listen, this system contradicts Islam. Here's the evidence. And you claim you are ruling by Islam. You're king. You're king. Yes, it's a kingdom. Muawiya, the first of king as well. Don't worry about Muawiya. He can't go to hell or to Jannah. I don't care about him. He's definitely came after Khulafa who have been elected and have shura. And variations on you can criticize one procedure another, but that's what they came to. He was, no, because of this, because there's some fuqaha. What's their evidence? This the evidence, bring your evidence. Okay, let's go to a court. Mostly a king like Salman now will order his state security to take you on and break your neck in his dungeons. Yeah, that's it. That's the way to dispute. And we are doing that, for example, with all regimes in the Arabic countries. You are not legitimate. Just step aside. Save the people and save yourself. That's what I say. Obviously, we don't have enough power to rally people to go to the sword. And those who went to the sword went for the most flimsiest and disgusting reasons, like Daesh and so on.
Yeah.
The only one is maybe you can say generally the ijtihad is all in all reasonable is Al-Qaeda, the old Al-Qaeda, until Al-Zawahiri. That's it. And Taliban, under the intellectual guidance, Taliban has the sword, but they were listening and they were interacting with the Zawahiri until the American catastrophe in Kabul, which has been recorded, will be a shame for all history. It's worse than Saigon. But we're not discussing details, politics and events, but we give them as an example so the listener thinks, oh, this seems to be, it can happen only in Mars. No, it's here. It's happening. We see it now. We see it now. So that's the way to go. If you cannot find some people to support you and rebel with the sword, you run away to another country, you stay here, you go to a cave and seclude yourself, see what you can manage your life. Or just you remain silent if you estimate the situation is so miserable and there's no structured movement and no real banner you can rally for the difficult day to remove the tyrants by the sword. Then you cannot do it. I think, but if that's explained to the people, and that's the problem, sometimes don't get the time, or in a historic phase, you cannot broadcast to the people enough so they have really a public opinion which is going your way. And from this public opinion, it's usually countries now are in the millions. Obviously, there's small cities around, but most countries are now 10 million, 15 million. If you even gain 20% of them, that's 1 million or 2 million. Most of them are incapable for rebelling with the sword, but you will find 5,000, 10,000 are willing to and know where the focus. They will not go and demolish a grave or prosecute magician like the idiotic Daesh. They will go say where to attack. Who is resisting him? Who is keeping this one in charge? Who is protecting him? What is the Taif al-Mutani'ah? After this detection, so it's not haphazard. You may choose the way of self-sacrifice. You stand alone. Most likely you will not succeed. You will get your neck cut. You decided, I don't want to live under this situation in any case. I'm going to sacrifice myself, or become a martyr. Fine, it's a great rank. Will be one of the best shuhada. It's better even. It's the same rank of Hamza. سيد الشهداء حمزة ورجل قام إلى أمام جائر فأمره ونهاه فقتله. The master of shuhada is Hamza bin Abdul Muttalib, and the man stood to Tyrant and commanded him and so on, obviously telling him that you ought to change or get lost. He will not accept that very nicely. He will cut your neck. Nobody should think this is a desperate act or no, it's not desperate. It is for this current situation. There's no other way out except this. Or I stay home and shut my mouth. I don't want to be in this rank. I want to be better. So I sacrifice myself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's a way someone can choose. And the Prophet is encouraging if he declare him to be Sayyid al-Shuhada. Obviously, assuming he's a messenger of Allah, not an imposter. Otherwise, he's a highway brigand who is misleading the people. Let's settle that out first. In every discussion like that, Barahat, tell the people, let's go. Is that a messenger or not? Is that narrated for him in a convincing way or not? If it's a Nas of Quran, that's an issue is settled. They will be defeated, but they play a game with this hadith. There's a maqal in the isnad, but this one specifically is no maqal. Not of the shuhada, but the first part of it. A messenger, a man came to say, Allah, I think at Hijjat al-Wada', and told him, what's afdal Islam? Ma afdal al-shahada? He did not answer him and traveled. And then went from in Hajj, various positions from Arafat, Minnesota. And then another asked him, the same man came. Messiah Allah, what's the best shahada? Man afdal al-shuhada? He did not answer him. Until he said, ultimately, it doesn't have the word qatalu. أو it has حديث طارق راوي طارق بن شهاب رضي الله عنه. And then last time, who is the one asking about the best shahada? Say, Ana Ya Rasulullah. He thinks maybe being killed by 10 swords. That's what the people think about shahada. See, أفضل الشهادة كلمة حق عند ذي سلطان جائر. Yeah, without فقتله والنطق. Just كلمة الحق. Because by implication, the man is asking about shahada. So let's think about this. What's the result? Meaning, this tyrant killed him. Otherwise, it's not the answer for shahada. And this man thinks maybe someone being comprehended by the enemy and cut into pieces and so on, and mutilated and so on. No, this is not afdal. This is afdal. There's no qital even. Someone who's no sword, no power. And if you analyze it deeper, it's really extremely difficult to. So I mentioned a small story for myself. We were burying someone in Riyadh, and I met someone who said, Sheikh, Wallah, you are our example and so on. What you are suffering. You say, what I'm suffering? You came from, I was in Afghanistan, he was fighting, came back. And you have endured the whizzing of the bullet flying over your head. Said, yeah, Sheikh, Wallahi, whizzing of the bullets is easier to take, especially because you know you'll be shaheed. And secondly, you have so many sharing with you. You have a front, you have a group, fighting group. You don't feel alone. You say, but you are standing. Anytime the mabahith, the secret police, that time they called mabahith, now they call it state security, that come and apprehend you. Nobody is with you. Don't be fooled by the whizzing. I say I was there. The whizzing, after some time, the whizzing becomes second nature. This 10 times it don't hit, maybe this will hit it, does it? Does that matter?
He's right, actually. He's right.
Yeah, I accommodate for that, but this is terrifying. Yeah. I'm not able to say anything now. I'm keeping a low profile if they're coming like a mouse. So don't estimate what to do. Continue doing, but don't expect me to with you in that. Yeah, not to that level. Just not to praise myself, but really from experience, yes. You feel forsaken. You feel look like left. Nobody is there. You feel completely deserted, completely powerless. And still you stand. I didn't stand to the level to be martyred, which shows that I'm not to that level anyway, but some people stood through history. What that?
As Rasulullah narrates in the hadiths you mentioned in the new book that's been translated, and the group amongst the Christians, those who followed Christ, they stood against the tyrants until they were burned alive
And
they were
cut
cut
the
into
toes
pieces
and so on, yeah.
with swords, you know. And another group, they went to the mountains and they became monks.
Mhm.
Yeah, everyone's journey is difficult. Everyone's journey is different at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. So you cannot compare the one who suffered the follower of Christ, alayhi salatu wassalam,
Well said. Well
who
said.
suffered crucifixion and cutting in pieces and being burned. Or those who escaping the mountains, yeah, they're okay. But these are the real.
And even then, it's not an obligation to go to that extent when
No,
there's when there's a barrier preventing you from enacting what you need to enact.
yeah. But no barrier prevent you from having in your heart disgust
Yes.
and hate for the tyrant's tyranny oppression. That's in the
Ustad,
heart. Because
that's
I said
why.
that's you have to change it at least in your heart. Otherwise, there's no iman left anymore because it means you love kufr. Allow kufr to happen, and you're supposed to be enemy of kufr, not necessarily kafir. People confuse, think that
Kufr and
you
not become kafir.
hate the kafir. No, Allah said Allah made you love iman and made it beautiful. You taste it and you have the taste of it, and made kufr and uzuq and asyan despicable and hateful to you.
Yeah.
Someone having these, we don't know what's his circumstance, but if he become hostile and pull the sword, then we have to hate his person as much as we are willing to kill him in the battlefield. That's it. That's the limit of hate. It doesn't go beyond that. I will destroy his country. I will do this thing. That's not the way it works. Even the hostile kafir. Only the one pulling the sword and fighting you. It doesn't extend to the others. They don't become out of humanity and out of possibility of mercy of Allah. So don't get in that. Don't let the devil get you out of the border. This is all satanic inspiration. But what he is here. And even that some people say this is maybe the way Christians claim or European in modern times. No. Abu Hurairah said himself he was getting good relation with a man who has been, I think, flogged for khamr or something like that. And they say, don't you hate him? I say, no, why should I hate him as a person? He's my brother in Islam. I know he's sinful and so on. And I'm working with him to overcome that. Maybe you don't know how I'm working with him. But what I hate is his sin. And I'm working to help him overcome it. And the same with the hadith. Don't worry about that. Go to the Masiyah Allah. When someone who was addicted and he was brought back and forth and flogged. And someone say, La'anak Allah, may Allah curse you. How many times you are brought in front of the Masiyah Allah and you get whipped? Say, don't help the devil over your brother. Instead, say, may Allah forgive him, may have mercy, may Allah give him release from his addiction. Oh, they just flogged him now. These fine things have disappeared in the Madkhali and so on. Because their heart is hard. They don't have soft hearts. They don't have real iman.
So the reason why this is the reason why
that's the real problem. There is no real iman because iman have two fundamental core. One, having the correct knowledge, and the other one, conviction. Conviction is the theoretical issue. I'm not denying they convict, but what is the purpose of being convicted? For example, anyone who knows the issues we discuss about Muawiya, many of them come to know now. What is the issue of you when I prove you beyond doubt because we have the treatise that Muawiya bin Abi Sufyan started the cleansing of Ali on the pulpit.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
And we have the evidence from Tawattur. No, even with the correct isnad, but there's plenty of not correct isnad about that. So I discovered that to some people. And also the hadith. So Salama wrote to him saying, You curse Ali and everyone who loves Ali. And I witnessed by Allah that he loves the Prophet and Prophet loved him. So you are cursing a messenger of Allah. Muhammad did not care.
Of course not.
So when you hear the story, you will find people, but Muawiyah is mujtahid. There's a problem with your iman. You are not convinced that's the messenger of Allah. And he's telling
Do you remember the hadith of Abu Darda recorded in Muwatta of Malik, where he says, I'm telling Muawiya, Allah and Rasul said, Muawiya says, I don't find a problem in it, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
This is the level of Muawiya. Someone said, Allah said, he says, I do what I like. I do what I want.
So that's meaning there's a problem. Here, I think the problem of Iman as a conviction, but most likely because they don't know about the seriousness of these issues. So their understanding.
These are words of kufr also.
Yeah. It's kufr.
It's kufr akbar, yeah.
The only Sahabi, I think the only one who is his shatim and insult is an act of kufr. All others, no. Is an act of fasiq. The same, no group of Sahaba, their insult in general as a group is an act of kufr and evidence of nifaq, except the Ansar, because of the hadith. And the reason because Al-Khazraj and Aus in Medina were insignificant tribe in Arabic. They were farmers, a few business people, and they never stopped any caravan, never fought anybody, never did anything. So why you should hate them as a community, as a group? That's what people hate usually. Someone attacked me, someone confiscated my caravan. No, never. They don't even know that Ghifar tribe of Abu Dhar. They were high road brigands, and they were attacking pilgrims groups and so on. And that's the reason when Abu Dhar said in the verse, from which tribe? Say, Ghifar. Say, Subhanallah, Ghifar. No way there's a Ghifari can come. They're all highway robbers. Especially they rob the Hujjat. They call them Suraq al-Hajij. So,
who said that to Abu Dhar?
Huh?
Who said that?
Yeah, stating that to Abu Dhar. Subhanallah. He didn't say any further, but I guess everyone thinks, how come from this corrupt tribe, criminals, highway robbers? So if you hate Ghifar as a Ghifar, no wonder. There's good reason for that. But for Ansar, they never invaded anybody. Very soft, very gentle. So if someone hates Al-Ansar, then the problem in his heart, because they are Ansar, having the name of Ansar because of the Messenger of Allah. They said that's the reason the Messenger said, حب الأنصار إيمان وبغضهم نفاق. They didn't say about Muhajiri, because most Muhajiri are coming from Mecca. Oh yeah, many people hate Quraysh, and they fought against Quraysh sometimes, battling for power and money. Yeah, happen to let's be munafiq to hate Muhajirin, because they are actually Quraysh. There is a from damn tribe of Quraysh who killed my grandfather. Ansar have no history of that before Islam, except killing someone each inside Medina by themselves, and Khazraj, in few wars like Mu'adh, instigated by the Jews. But this is history, it's irrelevant to us. The same with Ali as a person. حب علي إيمان وبغضه نفاق. Because what's the reason to Ali is grown in Islam? Anyone was charging against a tribe to get their camels, like the habit of the Arabs, especially strong men. They prove their manhood by invading other tribes and stealing their sheep and so on. That's the Arabic standard of life. He has none of that. Inside Quraysh, he was never involved in a dispute between tribal subsection, which was vulnerable. He was never on record attacking anyone in his genealogy. Quraysh had many attacks against their genealogy. The grandmother of this section is a prostitute, like Bani al-As, Hakim ibn As. Never Ali ibn Abi Talib said that you are the sons of the whore. Zarqa.
The hate of Ansar and the hate of Ali is due to them fighting for Islam.
Because of Islam. So you're hating Islam, you're hating the Messenger of Allah. That's it.
Exactly.
Hey.
Even you know what they
tell all that to those people and say, see, there's a problem with their iman.
So you know those who say, Ustad, we hate Ali or the Ansar because they killed the champions of Quraysh and the Mushrikeen.
Exactly.
In actuality, what they're saying is they hate Rasulullah for that, but they can't say it with their words, so they hate Ali or the Ansar.
I told you, and then if he's a messenger of Allah, that's the reason of it. Otherwise, we're talking about a bunch of highway brigands who are fighting each other. And we have excluded that by the absolutely, I think, irrefutable evidences. So that's it. And they said, مجتهد. I excuse them in one aspect, that they are not kafir by this, but the act itself is an act of kufr because it reflects their ignorance.
The Madakhila.
Generally, few are munafiq kafir. It reflects their ignorance.
Ustad, the laity, the layman
I
Madakhila.
wouldn't go in layman. Some scholars even are not informed about that.
What I mean is the laity
you may hear people saying they are the scholars, they are really donkeys.
Ustad,
Be fooled by the title scholar or alim or so on, or graduate of university.
These people, honestly, you know better than I do, 100 times better. They are honestly vile. Like them as human beings, they are ugly. They have no mannerism, no akhlaq, no honor, no dignity, no morals, nothing.
Because most like either they're munafiq kafir and
that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
So no. Another possibility is that they don't know the grave aspect of that because they spend all their life. What's about the grave? Which acts are the graves make you mushrik and so on. They went in a tangent. It's something absolutely irrelevant. But why we're involved? We know this is an act of kufr, and that's enough for us.
I'm going to ask you a question. Why did they become pseudo-intellectuals when they're debating Jews, Christians, and atheists? Not Jews, Christians and atheists, and Sufis, saying this is shirk, this is kufr. They cite ayat of the Quran like donkeys.
Because these issues are so obvious and that anyone who knows them and know to formulate a little bit reasonable will become, without insult to anyone listening us from Jews and Christians, it is easy to annihilate them in a debate.
Their brain works for this. But their brain doesn't work for matters of honor, dignity.
No. It works for this and works for matters of the same level in Islam. Matters more. We need more level, more scholarship, more going to all the ayahs, Quran, scanning them, going to Sunnah. That's the levels beyond them and beyond many of their scholars. Look, for example, what's narrated Ahmed bin Hanbal. The first narration about Ammar Taqul fi al-Baghiyah. Someone came. There's an excuse made there, but I mentioned the story. Someone came to the halaqah of al-Mu'iti. Al-Mu'iti died in 2022. He's not a very great scholar of hadith and so, but he's known. So he was their sheikh, and the halaqah was, according to the narrator, which is good, well established. Ahmed bin Hanbal, Yahya ibn Ma'in, and Abu Khaythama, the writer of the Tarikh al-Kabir. They all died 20 years, 30 years after Mu'iti, so they are essentially his students, or elder, or younger commilitone, co-students, most likely students. And someone asked, we don't know who this someone, maybe he sent from the Khalifa, because at that time there were disputes ongoing about Quran, about Sahaba. And I think Ahmed or one of them answered, and the others remained silent because there's no way the four answered at the same time. So someone answered, Mu'iti, we don't know. You see, about this hadith, it came from 28 channels. In my current research, which will be published soon, someone is designing the envelope because it'll be a small book. Someone said, yeah, where were they? Yeah. I found only 25 channels. So some are even lost in history. But the existing one, only a small subsection is also mutawatir and establishing everything with certitude. But that's not actually. So what the answer was, say 28 channels, none of them is correct. Sahih. It's always mukabara. Obviously, maybe they are afraid of the sword or getting involved in that. So they are cowards. Okay, assume that. Later on, evidence becomes so overwhelming and nobody can escape it. It's obvious. It's so blatantly obvious. So some people ask him, what's about the hadith? Ammar Taqul fi al-Baghiyah. Said, yes, it's correct. It's well established. No doubt about that. قتلته في الباغية. And then he had it to say, ولا أزيد على ذلك. I don't add any more to this. It's safer for me. The great scholar, Imam.
Now, how do you explain this?
Ask him. Put them on the table. Explain it.
No, what I mean is
they may say it was in a time where, for example, there's a anti-Shia, strong anti-Shia, like time of Mutawakkil. You know, he lived until the time of Mutawakkil, and he was having a good relation with the Mutawakkil. So he doesn't want to summon the halaqah to report him to Mutawakkil that the man is going against you, because the Mutawakkil was such an asibi he ordered the grave of Al-Hussein to be demolished and the whole area to be turned into agriculture. And this led to a vast rebellion, started with writing on the walls, graffiti. So graffiti is ancient. It's not recent technology. No, it's ancient. Wrote on the walls, condemnation. And then the matter went to such extremes that a palace guard killed al-Mutawakkil. So maybe in this time, but anyway, show you some scholars, which are great scholars, are just coward. They are unable to say it. Another example, I think at the time Mutawakkil also said, the people claim, Abdullah asked his father, but this is in the Sunnah, related by him, and so this is well established, because his students were meticulous recording everything. And they record everything, including things they think with their mentality, that's a great praise, it turns out to be a condemnation. But this one is Abdullah saying, سألت أبي يقولون the people say يقولون hearsay أنك تتولى يزيد, that you ally, you accept Yazid as a ruler, as a good man. في أصحاب said no. ومن يتولى يزيد هل يتولى يزيد من يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر بعدما فعله بأهل المدينة? He didn't know what did أهل المدينة. Or did not comment what Ahl Medina action is only fisq or kufr or dhulm or something. They just safer, as he said in the other issue. Okay, طيب. Abdullah put him in the corner. Said, فلما لا تلعنه? What's his answer? If you say no, if he most likely he has options. I think he's intelligent enough to regard. If he say yes, I will curse him now. Meaning admitting this position, because who appointed him and get him in power? Muawiya. So Muawiya is for Ahmed ibn Hanbal, Muawiya is an idol. Nobody touches Muawiya. Anyone talks about Muawiya will be rejected as a narrator by him. It's extreme, really. You just see his talk about men almost exclusively Muawiya, his idol. So what he said. So his son, متى كان أبوك لعانا? Whenever you have seen your father as a la'an, you are all the time saying who say Quran مخلوق is a kafir. Is that not la'an? And also, here he lost the courage. All Allah what is there. So
there's another where he says Yazid is from the Salaf.
What I'm saying, the follower of Hanbal and these stupid ideas, including appointing Muawiya as an idol, or even worse, declaring Khalq al-Quran. The whole issue, there's a Kufr Iman in that. There's not an issue of Kufr Iman in that all. It's a fallacy. But independent of that, the people who regard him as Imam and the one saving the Ummah and so on should stop that. Just cover up and say, Alhamdulillah, for sitr. We don't want to expose one another. And there are other scandalous stories for him and for others. Like, for example, we were shocked about a story which is known by Al-Hadith, by Tawattur, is that Abu Awana went to Kufa. Abu Awana is Basri, and the Basris are known to be not Shia. They call the Uthmani. Umayyad, essentially. But Bani Umayyad never said, by Umayyad, Billah, otherwise they would be exposed. Catastrophic. So they are the one who taking for the revenge for Uthman. Uthmani, not Umayyad. Okay. So that's the title. Al-Basra said, فلان كان عثماني, فلان كان علوي. And Eli phases and stuck for Al-Basra. For the Shia, Kufa is mostly Shia. So Abu Awana, a major narrator of first class, went to Kufa, listened from Al-Amash, Kanzu Hadith, and wrote a book. جيد? وبين back to Basra. Abu Awana is an authority. Say, if you try to ram him with your head will get broken. So what the guys there, so-called Uthmani, Nasibi, so-called Ahl Sunnah, Shuyukhum, like Ayyub al-Shaqtiani, see how much praise there. They say, even in Ibn Hajar, ثقة ثبت حجة, big titles, almost a title like Ahmed al-Hanbal, and regarding as the master of the Sunnah, and the one who invented deserting the Mubtada'. One of his students brought him, Abu Awana came with a book which seems to be shaking our madhab figure. Say, okay, Ayyub al-Shaqtiani, the thiqa thabt hujjah, the leader of Ahl Sunnah at his time. and the leader of the Sunnah in Basra after Qatada and after the. Go take the book for him, tell we want to make a copy from it, and Ayub is asking you that. So he went, good. These are respectable people, gave him the book. He went back to Ayub As-shaqtiani and say, here's the book. Burn it. Even the one shook, is that permissible? Yes, to prevent people from listening to this bid'ah. That's Ayub, okay. Ayub is irrelevant, is not known except for these two madhab and mentioned like second class reference, not like Ahmed bin Hanbal and Ishaq bin Rahawi. Now this is narrated in the halaqah of Ishaq bin Rahawi, Ahmed I think present. I'm not sure 100% sure, but Ishaq bin Rahawi definitely. And someone says, is that what they did legitimate? You are entrusted the book, you have to retain it. Or make a copy and tell the people this is all wrong and bid'ah and lies. That's all what you can do. Say, no. Is that not theft? Say, no. If I were there, I will do the same. And if you find anything similar, get it and burn it.
Yeah, that's how they are. Dirty people. No shame.
Yeah.
That's the only way I could describe it.
Imam al-Kabir, etc. and so on. Now, I just want to wake the present brothers and the rest of, even the rest of humanity. We should be, before we call people to Allah and His Messenger, we should be critical and clean ourselves. Nobody will be able to clean completely, but if he confronted with something, say yes. We don't defend batil, but some people do not know it's batil. Like, for example, there was a debate between Muhammad Hijab, great brother here, and he's there controlling the masses good well in Hyde Park corner by his good arguments. And what's the name? This guy philosopher says Muhammad is a highway robber and so on. The famous one was you're not following the British, the one which was defending Israel and so on, regarded as one of the latest philosophers and so on. He was debating him about the Islamic conquest, not knowing that what the Western call Islamic conquest, some of it is truly Islamic, what the Khulafa did, and some related later. And they were discussing, I think, Andalusia especially.
Yeah.
But Muhammad Hijab, nobody knows that the conquest of so-called conquest of Andalusia is an act of Bani Umayyah, act of kings, because it was based on that the September Malila is in news these days. Yeah.
Yep.
Just to fix that in the video, what's the date today? I think it's the 1st of August, 2026. Yes. Yeah. And nowadays, there's few days back, things erupted, September Malila, and tens of thousands of immigrants stormed. I'm not going to discuss that. It's a political trick played by Israel and Trump. But
yeah, exactly.
This area, it was part of the Spanish, part of Spain at that time. Yeah, so it's ancient. It's not really a near occupation. So, but that's not my discussion today. And there were a king there, and it seemed to be he's like a vassal king belonging to Rodriguez.
Mm.
And it was the custom that the vassal kings sent their children for education in the palace. He said, children, one of them is his daughter. It seems she was stunningly beautiful, and Rodriguez raped her in the palace somewhere. She complained, and people will not lose that today. Say, service is my father. No, not like that. She wrote complaint to her father. He was boiling of anger. He has the right. Don't rape daughters of people and get away. But he cannot do anything. So he contacted Tariq ibn Ziyad and make him the following. Why don't we make a joint army and go there? And the three is the following. We divide his kingdom between us. Get him if he succeed. And this is exactly what had happened. Neither Tariq is a poor guy from what you call Berber, or what's called from the what's the name of the tribe? I think from Masmuda or Zinata, from one of these major. I think Masmudi is Masmudi. I'm not sure anyway. But he Berberi. He's not Arab. And a simple-minded man and a commander in Bani Umayyah. What expects fiqh and ilm and so on. So he crossed, obviously this crossing story and burning the ships most like legendary, but he went, and by grace of Allah, or maybe for the poor guy the poor girl was raped, He punished the biggest and he was killed in battle, and they divided his kingdom. Is that an Islamic conquest? Did they call them before to Islam and they rejected? Did they do? No, none of that is done. So it's not an Islamic conquest. It's at best Umayyad conquest for their kingdom, like tyrants and kings at that time. And that's exactly what Ahmed Hijab when this guy Peterson, not Peterson,
Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson, yeah, argued. He told him that's with the habit, international habit at that time. He could not say anything because that international habit is well established in their history.
Yeah.
So he compared and got away with that. Instead of saying that's not an Islamic, this is according to your cursed tradition of kings owning the people, cutting countries, and inheriting the country to somebody else. That's not our Islamic tradition. This is an act of Bani Umayyah who are criminals.
Yes.
That's the way we clean our history and to present to people the truth.
Yes.
We find simple-minded to be like Mahmoud Sheikh Khattab, and he's a military man, retired, and then worked on Islamic history and discussing battles and battle formation because he's a military man. And one of his books is Fath Sindh.
Yes.
When he goes Sindh. And he regarded as a great Islamic conquest and discussing the battlefield. Poor guy, what do you expect from him? The so-called Fath Sindh is a criminal act, not only a
exactly.
Because the rebels in Al-Jamajim, some of them escaped there and got asylum. So he wrote to the king of Sindh, who are that recent Muslim, exactly like Habasha, telling him, deliver them, say, they have asylum here. And we are independent country, we are your friends, we have no war with you. Muslims here are protected, excellent. What's the problem with you? Hajjaj, being a munafiq, kafir, criminal, send an army.
What was the commander's name? I forgot his name. Thaqafi again.
Muhammad al-Qasim al-Thaqafi.
Muhammad al-Qasim al-Thaqafi.
His cousin or something like that. Anyway, Allah punished Muhammad al-Qasim 1 or 2 years later. I think Al-Walid became angry with him and threw him in prison, and he died there.
Hisham?
No. That was Al-Walid.
Walid.
Hajjaj died 94 or 95. Few days or a couple of weeks after he killed Sa'id ibn Jubayr.
May he rot in hell.
So this is not an Islamic conquest. It's a criminal act. We have to admit that and come clean out of it. The price for that is to insult the one who is worthy of insult.
Yes.
The criminals. But it's not an issue. So unless you really comply with Allah said, be witness for Allah standing for justice. Even if it's again yourself and the parents and so on. That's no. Witnessing for Allah must be witnessing the truth. Covering up doesn't work this way. And Islam doesn't work. And something else maybe. Go ahead. But it's something else, but not in Islam.
Well said. Happy.
So what you can do? So we have to clean that history. And for that we have to, what should have been done from day one, but was scattered through history, through plotting against Uthman and plotting against Muawiya. It got lost, and the people got involved in this so-called fitna kubra, in this Safin and so on, and people were scattered. Their mind never focused on anything. They could not ever focus properly. They tried, but and things started deviating, and the deviation was pushed further by Muawiya and his cohort. Plenty of hadith which are fabricated are in that time.
Well said. So we conclude now, Ustad? Do you have any concluding words? No.
Just because I think we diverted that, because I mentioned that don't trust that everything in Bukhari or Muslim single isnad is ultimately the truth in itself. It may be with highest probability true, but if you check further, you see the disease. That's the hadith. My son, meaning Al-Hassan, is a master. Okay, we went from master to Lord. So my master. Yes. Because Allah will make him unify or bring together two great groups of Muslims. And they take by evidence by these maftunin, these deviants, is that Muawiya is a Ta'if of Muslimin and Ali is a Ta'if of Muslimin. Yes, they have a dispute, but they didn't get out of Islam. The reason for that is a time of dispute between Safin and so on. The general consensus is that the people of Iraq calling the people of Sham kuffar. That's the general consensus. Even Ali resists that, say, calling even the people of Sham generally. And I told you, beware, لا تعمموا, don't generalize. Sham is having good people and so on. If you want to curse the evil people under them.
To be honest, Ali did not even do takfir of Muawiya.
No. There's takfir أهل الشام because they were doing takfir for أهل الشام generally.
Yeah.
That's different than takfir Muawiya. But
I'm saying there's no really, I don't think there are reliable aqwal, even though he did la'na against Muawiya in Musannaf Ibn Abi Shayba during Qunut.
No doubt. By إذا في هذا حديث علي بلعنة and دعاء على these four, it was used to be لعنة معاوية بن سفيان,
عمرو بن العاص,
الأعور السلمي, وعمرو بن قيس موسى الأشعري. Get me all these hadith if you can at the side where they are, and we will complete this point. No, that's not. He said what he said because they will say كفر أهل الشام. أهل الشام are all them كفار.
Yes.
They can't صفين. I said لا تعمم. فيهم الأخيار فيهم كذا وكذا, لكن العنوا أشرارهم. مين أشرارهم? To be explained in detail.
The أئمة, the leaders.
Yeah. Okay. Then after everything went the wrong way, and Abdullah ibn Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, Abdullah ibn Amr, commits his betrayal, which confirms that he has nifaq before. There's a hadith about that, but that's not our issue today. It was irrelevant for us, as a matter of fact. That was the consensus in Iraq, and that the group of Muawiya, the one who fought with him, are kafir. Now they want to get him in Islam some way, so they may be mujtahid, maybe sinful one way. That hadith was created and put in the mouth of Abu Bakra, radiallahu anhu.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the only way they could get it, is that most likely one of the sons of Abu Bakra, because all his sons are condemned in other contexts, but that's not that we're going to in the final details. That's in the final research. It will come. All these details will come, and the historic context, and what's the motivation for any side to do something or not. That is it money? Is it power? Is position, and so on. And why the sons of Abu Bakr call them unreliable, not unreliable, it's almost certainly fabricators and liars.
Yeah.
Is that they were able to sneak it, somehow feed it to Hasan al-Basri, who was very gullible in this matter. We know that he's gullible. In addition, he used an'ana.
Tadlis, yeah.
Tadlis. So all channels of this hadith are with an'ana.
Yeah.
One channel, the Sheikh of Sufyan ibn Uyayna, is from the channel of Sufyan ibn Uyayna channel. The Sheikh of Sufyan ibn Uyayna made a mistake, which can be proven by other connections, and attributed to Hassan saying حدثنا. It's not حدثنا, it's an'ana. That's the only channel which is in Bukhari.
So even Ahmed ibn Hanbal says that Hassan al-Basri did not narrate from Abu Bakra.
Yeah, no, his generalization is wrong. Their narration, he was with Anas ibn Malik visiting Hassan al-Basri and reporting the visit. So he narrates this one. Yeah, so
no, then Hassan al-Basri, does he directly narrate from Abu Bakra? I don't think so.
No, they will have a hadith. Go to Qatala Samra ibn Jundub. They have one hadith. But he in the hadith, he says, we visited. Ziyad complained to Anas ibn Malik, your brother Abu Bakr is sitting everywhere. My brother is sitting and insulting us and accusing us, even calling us kafir and so on. Can you please, because you're Sahabi, older than, more ancient than Abu Bakr, and so on, go and try some way to cool him down and so on. Anas went, because Anas is also gullible. Went, but he did not dare. Hassan say Anas did not dare going or something like that. So he came to me say, "Can you give me company? We go to Abu Bakr." All of them afraid of Abu Bakr with the sharp tongue. So they want him. He was homesick because he was having sciatica. And then a long discussion ensued. And at the end, Hassan also say he defeated us in argument. Both of us went defeated and forsaken.
So the argument was what exactly? What was the argument about?
About that, why you against your brother Ziyad, etc., etc. What he is, people say, some way you talk this way, the people are saying to provoke you to give an answer. People say that's because of dunya. Say because of dunya? Which dunya he gave to us? To more than what he gave Abdurrahman and Rawad and Ubaidullah. He gave this one in charge of the firehouses, so he can confiscate everything for himself. This is say this what he gave to my sons. The only thing he achieved with that he pulled them with him to the hellfire.
Wow, what a line.
What other thing say of them at the end say, when Anas or Al-Haj say, we believe he's mujtahid. Say mujtahid? The Khawarij claim they are mujtahid also. Were they correct? Ali proved that they are not correct. No. Wallahi, inna al-qawma kafaru surahiyya. By Allah, the qawm. Who are the qawm? His sons, Ziyad, Samura, we're discussing about those, and Muawiya. All of them, kafaru surahiyya. They committed kufr publicly.
Ustad,
Let's say we were defeated and we left.
Ziyad and Abu Bakra are related through the same mum, right? They're
Yeah, no doubt about that, yeah.
So Abdul Rahman is the nephew of Ziyad bin Abi, so he was working for his uncle. Huh?
Yeah. While Abu Bakr can shut down the relation with him completely. Some people say from the time the catastrophic issue with the Muawiya bin Shu'bah, the adultery, some people say definitely from when Ziyad accepted from Muawiya to be renamed Ziyad ibn Abi Sufyan.
Look at Muawiya's tricks. Whatever benefits him, he does it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's so this is the narration.
By the way, Abu Bakra had the mawqif of sitting down when two Muslims fight, right? That's his position.
That's another context. That's what proves the hadith against is fabricated also by one of the sons of these guys, but for another reason. We'll come to that in the recession, inshallah. Leave that. That's issue which there are many issues we are working now with the research group and scanning the whole world with various evidences, even some Roman documents from Muawiya, when we found really jewels there. All of this will be worked out now. So take it now as a trust and put the responsibility on myself. I'm now confident absolutely that Muawiya may have been never been a Muslim. But that's another issue. But the issue with it really concerns us what he did to the Muslimin in Siffin and before and so on. And how he almost certainly he instigated the Khawarij to go out using that they are brain dead. Exactly like Daesh now is used by Western intelligence for donkeys.
Did Muawiya sell and give land to the Romans as well, by the way?
Yeah. We'll get to that inshallah. But I'm going to say, but what you see an example now in our time that the Khawarij like Daesh, they are donkeys. So anyone, if you see a donkey, forsaken donkey, and you want to go to some place, then ride on it and go. That's what Western intelligence doing. A donkeys, just ride them, use them. And one the mount and the other dismounts. That's it. Summarize of the history is interesting. But they think they are doing jihad fi sabilillah. So blinded. Because they came from a madhab which emerged from يقرؤون القرآن لا يجاوز تراقيهم. They don't comprehend the Quran. They look at the ayah which we discussed, the main ayah about obey Allah and they never go beyond فَإِنْ في شيء.
Yeah.
They never go in any detail. Again, they're not mentioned. It's not part of the Quran. Some Bani Umayyah, Abdul Malik, Muslim ibn Abdul Malik, who was to be busy with fighting and so on, and was never in the line of rulership, so he's busy invading Roman area. So Allah knows best about his motivation. Maybe he wanted jihad. There was a discussion between him and Abu Hazim, famous Thabit. And the thing Abu Hazim refused to obey something. And Abu Muslim ibn Abdul Malik, Muslim, told him, didn't Allah command you to obey us, as he said, أطيعوا الله ورسوله أمر منكم. Ibn Hazm said, read the one after. فإن تنازعتم في شيء. So the command is not absolute. And Muslim stopped. Maybe Muslim is a fighter, not really a scholar. But Abu Hazim stopped him in thought. So at least until that time, there are some people who stop you on your track.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, after that, we have these guys there and the rest of the Ummah. And the one who could stop you for that, they are the Sheikh al-Azhar or that Sheikh in India or that Sheikh in Mauritania. They don't dare say that because they want to have money, go to Hajj and Umrah, or they're living in a dream world. Anyway, complete al-Hasan. So Dara Qutni say about this is one hadith which Bukhari was fooled. There is no the hadith about about al-Hasan being a master and so on. this is all ana. The only channel with حدثنا is this channel, and this faulty because of this and this. You know, Dara Qutni has a
there is one chain of Abu Bakra saying the same hadith, maybe in a different channel, right?
No, the same hadith, from him, all of them. So Hassan and Abu Bakra, except this one channel. And Dara Qutni show where is the problem, who committed an error, and the admission of error by some people, etc. It's only Dara Qutni, because he discussed about 70 hadith of Bukhari, say they don't fill his condition. They are not connected, or cannot be ascertained to be connected. So that's the good argument, not the argument that Muhammad, he did not narrate from Abu Bakr. That's a little bit a sweeping argument which should not be. But generally, all his an'ana should be regarded as a munqati' until another evidence to support otherwise. Yeah, that's the general rule.
Yes.
So that's it. So if we take all of that, the job is quite difficult now, all these tarakumat, but it's not difficult if you go back to Quran, read it the correct way, without cutting ayah short. Even a part of ayah is being cut. Sometimes context is cut.
Yes.
The context is cut. That's almost 100% everywhere by these scholars, al-faqih and so on. The whole context is thrown in the rubbish. And worse than that, this one context, let's say talk about fighting, another about fighting, a third about fighting. Each one has some aspects of that current situation. You have to take all of them, and if necessary, the context, and if necessary, but only if necessary, the reason for revelation. But if you check thoroughly, you find the reason of revelation help you to understand the issue much clearer. Like our appendix in various publications, or it's published as separately, Malakum fil Munafiqina fi'atayn. You may have read that and its translation somewhere. This shows you that the ayah in its wording will give all the meaning with the hadith and make it easier to understand. But you don't need even all these reasons of revelation. So the reason of revelation is not necessary for it, but it will make the understanding very much easier, and so on. So taking all of that will give you a clear picture. And that's what the Quran says clearly, because they say, أفلا تدبر القرآن ولو كان من عند غير الله لوجدوا فيه اختلافا كثيرا. إذا say, then they ponder about the Quran. Not أنا آية مجموعة.
All of it.
All of it. And all of it means the time of revelation, the amount which shall be revealed at that is enough for itself. But the more you go forward, there's more Quran coming, and you have to take all of it until it's closed. If would have been from anybody else except Allah, there will be ikhtilaf. There will be contradictions. It says kathiran, but because any human book will have ikhtilaf kathir, not only one ikhtilaf, by necessity. In the case of Allah, kathir ikhtilaf meaning no ikhtilaf, zero ikhtilaf. That's how things apply to a necessarily existing being. If has to say
there's a problem in your voice, sir. Hello.
So that's the general principle. So that's have to be. So that means you can't just rely on a bit of it.
Yeah.
Because if you rely on one bit, another bit seems to be contradictory.
Yes.
You take all of them, say, okay, let me construct a contradiction to the best of my ability, and let me synchronize. If it's synchronized reasonably, without takalluf, without nonsensical exertion and so on, then it is that's the correct way to go. And then we check a third ayah, we find this, like for example, the issue just I mentioned, then we stop here because that will go until night.
Yes.
The issue
as well.
The whole campus one until Asr, that's not a problem. But what I mean is it's become excessive for the listener. Look, for example, the issue of حرية الاختيار is human مجبور or مخير. ده شو الشيء اللي فاته في القرآن. First of all, يريد يهدي من يشاء ويضل من يشاء. Meaning, they have no choice. And I think clearly, the clear meaning seems to be at face.
By itself, yeah.
And that comes from one mistake, is that the word Masiyah and Irada in Arabic can be interchangeable. It should be read based on the other ayahs, then not dictated by other ayahs, that permits someone to go astray and permits one to be guided. And then the other one, it doesn't mention the divine being at all. قد أفلح من تزكى إلى آخره. Then it says, نفس ما سواها فألهمها فجورها. The soul which how he created, the mind, so that it is capable, ألهمها فجورها, capable for فجور and taqwa, meaning it has free choice. Another thing, بس قد أفلح من زكاها, you make your self purification, وقد خاب من دساها. I mentioned that issue while I was in Saudi Arabia over 30 years back, and someone said, look at Mas'ud, he claims you purify yourself. I said, okay, what's about هذه آية? He got stuck. Because it is, and this is read in Salah almost every other week.
Juhal.
Read it. They read with closed eyes.
Yeah.
قد أفلح من زكاها.
Like donkeys, blah, 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 blah.
The word man cannot apply to Allah. قد أفلح من زكاها. You can't talk about Allah that أفلح or failed. وقد خاب من دساها. It cannot be. So to talk about the actor himself. There's nothing else to be talked about except the actor and the actors or Allah.
Ustad,
then you go to the ayah which put everything. قل لمن شاء منكم أن يستقيم وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله رب العالمين. Now يشاء الله رب العالمين permits you to have this Masiyah. Then we have to conclude, permits you to choose whatever you choose, not hidayah or dalala, otherwise it will be jabr. Then you have a consistent theory of العلم السابق and the consistent. Then future is open, nothing is written in eternity. This is nonsense, contradicts the Quran. And if you look at the العلم, check the most ayah about the details, ما يعلم بورقة كل, all relate to the current and the past. Nothing.
Nothing's about mustaqbal. Nothing's about the future.
So these
unless it's an exception. If there's an exception,
then he either promised something or he reported something. And it will go and force it in that direction, even if it would have left alone, not go there.
And this is kun fayakun, the qada of Allah.
No. Kun yakun, maybe in azal, maybe in. That's again going out of prophet. Just take the text as it is. Look at, for example, in the Quran about Ghulibat al-Rum.
Yes.
That must be, we know from history, is 614. That's the 34th year of revelation. What does it say? غلبت الروم في أدنى الأرض هم بغلبهم سيغلبون في بضع سنين إلا الأمر قول بعده ينصر ما يوم يفرح المؤمن وعد الله الذي لا يخلف الله.
وعد الله.
Allah وعد. Allah
promise.
Telling you indirectly, if it were Allah did not give this promise, it would not have happened, because this mushrik who said this will never happen was right based on the human knowledge. But he did not include the possibility that maybe he did not see in the ayah. I don't think he's sophisticated enough to see it. That's wa'ad. If Allah makes a wa'ad to please the believer, to make benefit for the believer, that's absolute. It cannot. The whole universe can disappear before the wa'ad is not fulfilled.
Yep.
So it was before the ayah revelation, it may have been developed not normally, and everyone concluded the Roman Empire is gone. And he's right, because the way it was that time, Constantinople was under siege from the Persian side, and the army was destroyed, and he was under siege. Not only that, people do not know, Arabs did not know at that time, but the news came, also the Bulgars and so on were sieging from the other side, and the Turks were coming from the other side. It was finished, cleared, done, finished, destroyed. And it should have been at least Allah promises. So it hints you this would be in the normal course of events. Yes. But I decided, and they will twist history in that direction by force, by divine absolute dominance. That's it. Simple. So it solved all these problems which we would speculate about that.
Very nice. Okay. Should we conclude here, Ustad?
I shall we'll conclude here, inshallah. And I hope, I think I started hijacking before getting all your questions, but I think we included them. Now you have to.
We spoke about pretty much the same stuff. If we want to continue another part 2 of this, we can. If not, no problem.
Review can see if it's enough answers, maybe by cutting it, shifting back and forth, and putting something under headlines in TikTok and so on. Don't ignore TikTok. It's very good. Certain issues you have like a small section of 5 minutes, which contains plenty of one, and also sufficiently exciting so the people will, because TikTok needs something quick and exciting.
Inshallah.
I think so. But keep in mind always, I know you have that in, but activated every time. Why I'm doing that? To come close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and benefit humanity. If you have that, then you will be guided. If you don't have that, then it will be in vain. Because anything which is not directed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be in vain.
Well said, Ustad.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد، وبارك على محمد وآل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
اوكي استاذ. ثانك يو. السلام عليكم.